What's up guys, I'm Frosty the Sandwich, welcome back to Marvel Rivals. I'm a Grandmaster in Ranked, and I've been using Psylocke a lot to grind up, especially in the higher ranks, because I think she's just a really good character, and I kind of popped off this game. I did D-rank into the top of Diamond 1 for a little bit, and this was actually just the top of Diamond 1, but I'm back in GM. I'm actually GM 2 right now, on my way to Eternity, and hopefully watching this game will give you some tips on how you can rank up yourself, especially if you're a Psylocke main. But in general, I'll talk about some strategy. Here we're in banning phase, and I tend to hold my vote if I see something I don't like, so I can kind of change it. Here we had Hela, which I was okay with, but it seems like the other team was also in favor of banning out Hela. And just one general thing to note is when we're in banning phase, it doesn't actually look like this on our end. We just see the wheel, and we don't get to see what they're going to ban. Otherwise, we might be able to coordinate a little better and not ban the same thing. Here, Strange and Hawkeye are both two really good bans. In fact, having Hawkeye and Hela off the table is very good for us. They can kind of delete you, especially Hawkeye. Hawkeye can make you want to quit the game sometimes if there's a good one on the other team. But yeah, just ban him. That is my best advice if you struggle against Hawkeye or just don't want to have to deal with him in your games. Ban his ass. If you're at the lower ranks, I'm sorry. You'll get there. I promise. Just keep playing. I think it's more about just perseverance and getting playtime than anything. You'll rank up. I promise. If you just keep playing the game, because you'll improve. You'll get more repetitions, and I think most of the people that at the higher ranks just have the most playtime at this point. I'm almost at 80 hours, I think, in-game playtime. That's not even out. Like Steam, it's like 150, almost 160, because I spend a lot of time in the practice range. Practice in the range with your characters. If you aren't, you can get a lot of time in on your characters. Here, we are being very aggressive, but you can with this character. And we're just kind of looking to tickle them in the head and then dash through them when they get low. Mince, repeat. If you're close enough to them after the dash, you can try and mix in a melee. Obviously, and that is the full combo. I had a video that I showcased it, but obviously, like, you don't have to use her full combo all the time. Usually, it's just the shots and then a dash if I think I can get the kill. If I can't get the kill, I won't even use the dash. I'll just back away, let my cooldowns reset, find another angle to poke from. You're basically the safest character to dive the backline, in my personal opinion. Like, I think you could make an argument for Spider-Man because of his mobility, but I think Psylocke's still safer than Spider-Man, because I mean, your ult makes you invincible. You can make yourself invisible, and you have two really good dashes. I think out of every character, and that's why I see a lot of Psylocke at the highest rank. I see a lot of Psylocke succeed at the highest rank because she really excels at getting around enemies, especially when it's hard to do. When they're being very vigilant, you can still, as a Psylocke player, usually get behind everyone and then just start tickling the healers. And that's basically what you should be doing as her. Like here, I'm just kind of waiting. I'm being patient, waiting for my moment to go after these healers. Because like, even if I don't get the kills there, every moment they're not focused on healing their teammates is a moment where the rest of my teammates can come in and kill everybody. We were a little too pushed up there and isolated from our healers, so we did go down there, which was unfortunate, and they basically got a team wipe on us, so they ended up being able to retake point here. And so this basically puts us in the position where we have to attack the point. So here we're just being patient, waiting for our team to come back. A big part of playing ranked properly is regroup. If you trickle in and allow them to stagger you, you are basically the reason your team's losing the game. So stop doing that. It can be hard. It can be very hard sometimes because you get frustrated and you want to go kill that asshole that just killed you. I get it, but Don't do it. Fight that urge. Stick with your team. There we were trying to go for the backline, but we realized Luna was ulting, so we just get out of dodge, let her cooldowns reset, try and take another fight. Luna ult is incredibly strong. You will not kill anybody in it as Psylocke. I'm sorry. There are some characters who can kill through it. She's not one of them. If you need to kill Luna, I strongly recommend Iron Man, actually. Iron Man can definitely get the job done. There we actually made a mistake by pushing into the storm and not realizing that her E was up, so we were taking shocks from her AoE every, I think, like a second, maybe 2 seconds. It's a lot of damage. I actually love Storm. I love playing as Storm. As soon as I get a good game in GM with her, I will post it, I promise. But yeah, there again, we were trying to be aggressive on the backline, and we got turned on, unfortunately, by a DPS and put it in our place. Here we ended up getting a healer low, and so we just basically tried to dash past the tanks and ult them in the back line. We did end up ulting one of the tanks, unfortunately, but they were low enough already, so we actually got a couple of kills there, which was very nice and allowed us to clean up the enemy team and recapture point. And from this position, we really want to start looking for the healers again, or the basically try and flank. Here we see that they're both basically grouped together, so we're going to try and stick around, make ourselves invisible, so the enemy tank, or DPS in this case, pushes past us, and we can take a 1v1. We did end up actually getting killed there, unfortunately, but we were at least able to take out one healer and give our team the opportunity to retake the point. I think we do end up losing this point, unfortunately, though, because it just wasn't enough. We didn't have enough bodies on point, and they did. Yeah, sometimes you're gonna lose a round. It shouldn't let you get down because you can easily still win the game, which is the case here. Right off the bat, we're gonna go left here. I really like playing off angles on this map with Psylocke. There's so many angles you can take to poke people. Also, fun fact, you can get down here. There's basically like a little passageway. Not every character can cross that gap, but if you can, it can help you get some cheeky angles that people aren't expecting. Like this one right here. I love playing high ground on this point, especially when the point is low down like that. You can stand on these bricks up here. They can't even be destroyed. And just kind of be a nuisance. They're not even really paying attention to us here, so we're able to just keep dealing damage. Fortunately for them, that Luna realizes that was an amazing Groot ult, and she needs to counter ult there to keep her team alive. Good presence of mind on her. Here, we're really looking to get the healers low and ult them, or if we don't need to ult them, we can just, just shoot them in the head. Now that their healers are down, we basically drop down. We give up the high ground because it's cleanup time. We're not really afraid of the enemy team at this point because they have absolutely no healing, and we still have our healers. And here we're being patient. I don't like pushing up on this particular map ever because there's just so many angles you can push around. If the rest of your team does it, you can do it with them. But normally I like holding point here. Here, we're just looking to get the health pack. We realize that we're half health. We want to stay healthy, and our team basically just lost the fight, so we're just going to wait and be patient. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing on Psylocke, okay? You can still win games at high ranks by just chilling and being patient. I don't need to be tickling the back of the team here. And fortunately for us, we did find a kill on the healer, which is very nice, especially as our team's coming back in. But I easily could have just died there and basically been a liability for my team. So that was a little risky. It did pay off. And again, if you're going to make a play like that, prioritize a healer. That is what this character excels at, is taking out healers. Again, she's the safest one to do it. I really enjoy her playstyle because of it. And I think just in general, at higher ranks in a lot of video games, the safer characters do tend to be better picks because it's just harder to kill them. And really good players having a kit that makes you harder to kill against really good players, go figure, tends to be dominant over other specific kits that can just be easily countered. It's just hard to counter a good Psylocke player, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is just difficult. Again, sticking to the backline, we're constantly behind the enemy team, which you should make a habit. of your own, so they constantly have to just turn and look at us. Every time you're forcing them to turn and look at us, it's good. Anytime you find an opportunity to pick a healer, which just happened, unfortunately the Luna had really good presence of mind there to see what we were about to do and ulted, saving her life and her team's life. They definitely would have died there. That was a very good ult on that Luna's part. And so we're gonna reset. You might be tempted to hang around and just touch point to try and stall there, but I don't think that would have been the right call. I don't want to feed ult if I can help it. Obviously, this Wolverine does try and chase us down, but we know where the health packs are, so we can stay safe and stay alive. And he does eventually just back off because of it. And still, we aren't going all the way back to our team. We're going to stay, if we're healthy, we're going to stay pushed up on their flank, constantly just being a nuisance. The more of their team we can force to dedicate to us, the better the rest of our team's going to be at pushing and taking point. Here again, we're at their back line, we're tickling them. The Groot did turn, but the rest of the team still focused on the rest of my team in front of them, and it's just too much. They can't handle it. Our team pushes in, able to take them out, and we capture point. Here I believe we do decide to be a little aggressive. We almost have points, so we just want to make sure their best bet is to try and have somebody dash to point, and we just want to kill them before they can do it. That Storm does doing exactly what we just said, but thankfully we took out their healers first, so there's really not much they can do. Even if they make it to point, they're probably just going to die in the fight. All right, so we do thankfully end up coming back here. Final point. Sticking with Psylocke. We're doing good on her, no reason to swap. I haven't really paid attention to any swaps that have occurred this game. I apologize if I don't think anybody's really done a swap here. I think there probably could have been some swaps done on the enemy team side after the round where they lost. They were doing fine the first time, so obviously if it's working, stick to it. But here, I think, yeah, they're just, their backline is prime city for getting ulted by me, which is exactly what we look to do there. We don't even play around trying to do any chip damage. We just go right in, we dash right past their tanks into their squishy backline and ult it. And that's, again, pretty standard stuff to be doing on Psylocke. It'll win you games. Here we won the initial team fight and captured points, so we're looking to be a little bit aggressive. I'm okay with pushing up a little bit, especially into this area on this map. They can go through on the right side and try and take point. They could also just go all the way around if they really wanted to. There's a couple of ways they could just go around you and take point. But generally, especially, it looks like a lot of them are committing to coming down just the main path. So we can take a fight here. We do see that Luna's ulting, so we're going to just duck out, wait for that ult to end, not really push anything. And then once that ult's over, we can come back in and clean up the backline. We did get some really good picks there. One of the healers already went down. I believe we're about to get the pick on the other healer. So that basically means we're just cleaning up the fight again. Magneto. He tried his hardest to stay alive. I know that exact feeling every fight. When you're a tank and your team dies around you, you're just kind of screwed, especially if you don't have mobility. Like Magneto has no mobility, just shields. Groot's kind of the same way. If you're cut out and your team dies around you, you're just kind of dead. Here we're being patient. Again, we're gonna let them push to point. While I was okay with pushing up there, I do tend to like playing around point, especially on King of the Hill maps. There's just so many ways to get around and get point that if you push too far into the enemy base, you'll usually just end up giving up point to one of their flankers. Here we have a huge ult in the back line again, and our Luna even comes in and and ults, even though I don't think it really does anything. You're invincible during that. I don't know if it damage buffs you. Something to research later, but yeah, huge ult in the back line, able to take out one healer, and then we clean up the other healer, and the rest of the team falls after that. Again, it is. I hope I've ingrained it in you by this point, but kill those damn healers, because they'll win. Killing the healers will win you the game. Killing the healers will win you the game. Keep saying it until it's your mantra as a duelist. Yeah, that was Psylocke went 50-4 here, which was kind of wild. I wasn't really paying attention to the scoreboard during the game. I was just kind of locked in, so I didn't realize how well we did. I knew we were doing good, but I didn't realize we got 50 kills, only 4 deaths. Super impactful character. I think she's very strong. I know I didn't quite put her in S tier, but I think she's easily you could make an argument for her being an S tier character.
Of her ultimate, and another reason is because she's pretty much the assist queen, and you can basically keep buffing you can damage buff your entire team, you can damage buff yourself, and you can heal your entire team, on top of having a really powerful CC tool in her shift, her sedation ability. It has a really wide AoE on it, so it's really easy to land on people. And then her just damage in general. She does shoot projectiles, which are a little slow, so it's hard to land shots, but when you do land them, they deal a lot of damage, especially if you deal headshots. And one thing about her kit is you'll see these leaves basically on the screen in front of you. There'll be four leaves. Every ability except for her shift utilizes those, and basically whenever you get a headshot, you regenerate one of the. They do regenerate over time, but they also regenerate whenever you get a headshot on an opponent. So a lot of her playstyle is essentially you want to keep healing your teammates and then spam into the thick of the enemy, hoping to get headshots to regenerate your leaves so that you can spam more heals and damage buffs onto your team. You want to try and stick in the back line, and you're going to hold your sleep for whenever you get dove or you see a juicy opportunity to get a kill or maybe cancel somebody's ultimate. That's something I really like to do a lot with her, is if somebody has a really telegraphed ultimate, I guess is what I would call it. Usually it'll be like a loud sound cue. You can usually cancel their ultimate by sedating them. You gotta be quick though. Another thing that I like to do with her is basically try and pick out an enemy on the other team and counter their ultimate. I don't remember if I specifically picked somebody out this game. We'll see what happens. Sometimes I specifically will just counter ult whenever they have the ultimate. But essentially her ultimate is a huge burst of healing in an AoE around her, and it'll actually overheal you and give you shield for the duration. It's pretty significant. It's not impossible to kill you through it. Iron Man ult can still kill you. There's a couple of things that can still one-shot you, but it really does have to be that one tick of damage. If it's damage over time, forget it. She'll probably be able to heal through it. Just like Luna. Her and Luna have very similar ults, although Luna's can provide a damage buff. Mantis is basically just pure healing in an AoE, and you can act during it, which is a key difference between Luna and Mantis. Luna's basically just dancing around. She can't really use her abilities or shoot at anybody during it. Basically, when you pop your ultimate, I think the best thing for you to do is then run around and do a damage buff on your team, and maybe damage buff yourself, dive the back line of the enemy team and maybe kill a healer, and then come back through your. Don't stay in the back line because you'll die and you're a healer, so you're incredibly important for the team. But yeah, when your ult's up, that's when you can kind of shift away from heal mode, because you're just naturally healing everybody around you, and you can kind of dive and make some plays, maybe get a couple of kills. And this, don't get me wrong, this character can absolutely duel. Again, if you get up in somebody's face with her, her projectiles are actually a lot easier to land because there's less travel time on them, essentially. So don't be afraid to, if you get dove, trade with them. Usually my tactic whenever I get dove, and you are going to get dove as Mantis, especially if the enemy duelists know what they're doing, is you try and land at least 1 or 2 hits on them. It doesn't have to be a headshot. Just land 1 or 2 hits on them, on their body, sedate them, and then you get a free headshot that'll usually kill them outright. And if that doesn't kill them, 1 or 2 more follow-up shots, you will usually be able to get it before they fully wake up and can move again, and that'll secure the kill. She's very good at countering dive characters, unless it's a very coordinated dive, which you will see, unfortunately, at this level of gameplay sometimes. It can be very frustrating to play against certain team comps as a Mantis. In that case, sometimes you might just need to swap off and swap to someone who's a little more mobile. Jeff comes to mind, so does Rocket. Rocket's climbing ability can actually get him out of a lot of situations. I think it's kind of slept on right now. Cloak and Dagger as well. I believe they do have a lot of survivability in their kit, although I'm not. I think I have maybe like 20 minutes on that character, so don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. As you can see, we're definitely trying to stick to the back of our team, but still stay on top of our team. Mantis doesn't really have an escape ability at all. You get one sleep and you get one shot at it every, I believe it's like 14 seconds. Don't quote me, don't flame me in the comments if that's slightly off. I'm sorry. I don't know the exact time on it, but it's significant. Like she really does thrive inside of our team and shrivel immediately outside of our team. You don't really want to go off on your own. You always want to have at least one or two teammates in your sight line, because you're not only are you basically denying some healing to your team if you're away from them, but you're also denying them damage because you give them damage buffs. And you are kind of the core player of the team. I would consider you the shot caller. I don't really comm that much. I prefer the ping system myself. But if you are the Mantis player, I would expect you to usually be doing the comms, because you're usually chilling just behind everybody else and you have a better sightline of what's happening on the battlefield, usually. Now that can change depending on your comp. I think she's also incredibly good at enabling dive characters. We don't really have a whole lot of dive on our team right now. I mean, I guess we have Wolverine, but that is that Psylocke, Wolverine, and Psylocke sort of dive. Wolverine can be dive. He's more or less tries to pull them into you. So I don't know if I'd really consider him dive. I'm thinking more like Spider-Man, Venom, Black Panther. You know, the type, or Iron Fist, the type that really want to dive into the back line. You're very good at helping them stay alive, because you can basically give them, I usually do the two for combo. Give them a little bit of healing, because even if they're full health, if they take damage, it'll heal them over time for the duration that it's on them, and you give them the damage boost, which I believe is 8 seconds. Again, don't quote me on that. The timing might be slightly off. One thing that's been hard to find about this game is exact damage numbers and timings on abilities and stuff like that. If somebody knows of a master like Flowcheat or something that somebody has somewhere in Reddit, please let me know in the comments. Give me a link. I'd love to see the actual damage numbers behind some of these abilities and the timings behind them and stuff like that. It would be really interesting to know. Here we're still we're hanging out behind our teammate. We're not trying to be too aggressive. We are basically the anchor to the team. If we go down, typically everyone else goes down. I mean, a core part about playing healer is just understand that you should be the primary target for the enemy duelists. I don't think they were doing a very good job of targeting me or our other healer here, which is probably one of the reasons that they lost this game. They should be coming after you almost exclusively. There will be some very frustrating games if you main healer where you're just going to get targeted over and over by the DPS. It is just because they're doing their job. It's very tilting, like, don't get me wrong. I don't blame you for getting frustrated, but just understand that they're doing basically exactly what they're supposed to, because if the healers fall, the rest of the team will crumble. Healers keep the team alive. They really are in this type of game. It was no different in Overwatch. You know, you can take out anybody else, and it's not quite as impactful because the rest of them can regenerate. You take out a healer, and all the damage you start dealing, all that chip damage you start dealing, becomes a lot more meaningful. Because especially if you take both of them out, then there's nothing except they better play around health packs. That's why I do enjoy characters that tend to be more mobile. Mantis's only mobility really is when she's full health, which I guess I haven't really talked about her passive. Mantis will passively heal herself unless she's full health, in which case she will get a pretty sizable movement speed buff, which I really like. It is basically her only form of movement, and that's why I usually, basically when I'm topped off, I like to hop around to make it a little bit harder for me to hit. She kind of feels like a frog to play to me. I know she's a mantis, but yeah, she's green. She has some frog-like qualities. But yeah, I really enjoy the speed buff when it's up. It can make her incredibly difficult to hit. Another thing you can try and do is not ever engage a Hela like that, because you will get killed immediately. If they're in any way competent, they will murder your ass. And hit scan characters in general are going to give you the most trouble, I think, on this character. Hela in particular, I think, would be your biggest counter. Punisher can be pretty difficult to deal with, so can Star-Lord. Yeah, which Star-Lord is hit scan. I was thinking Bucky, but I don't think Bucky's hit scan. Bucky can CC you though, which can be a nuisance. I've seen a lot of good Bucky players that can just manhandle you. I don't understand how that character works, but I need to learn how to play him. He does seem very strong. One thing you can try and do is get some cheeky headshots on Hela players when they're ulting like that, but you definitely don't want to expose yourself too much to their sightline. They can 2-tap you in their ult, so you will die if you try and hang out there. If I had tried to deal any more damage than I did there, I probably would have died. There, we basically did a counter ult to try and just delay as much as possible. One of the huge strengths of Mantis and Luna is you can solo ult and just stand on point, even if you're in the middle of the enemy team, and just delay that timer. Keep delaying the timer. If you're on defense, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, here we've got plenty of time on the clock still that we've got to waste, so the more we can waste out, even if it's trading just an ultimate. So we were a little too pushed up there. We definitely should have dropped back behind our team, and we died for it. But, you know, that'll happen sometimes. Sometimes you get a little tunnel visioned on the objective, and you forget that you're a healer. I do not primarily play healer, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy all three roles, honestly, and I think that's one of the things that keeps me back playing games like this, is there's just so much variety that'll keep it from getting stale too quickly. I've been really enjoying the different characters. I don't know, let me know how you feel in the comments. Do they have enough characters and variety of playstyle? How do you feel? Or do you wish there was more variety in the characters? I think they nailed it, personally, but, you know, there's always difference of opinion out there. Here we're gonna try not to push too far past the payload and kind of use it as cover. It's something I haven't really discussed yet, is using the payload as cover is kind of coded in my opinion. I believe it does heal you like did in Overwatch, which is kind of slept on as well. But there our team kind of got wiped, so we're just having the recognition that, hey, we can't hang out here anymore. We have to move back and wait for our team to respawn. It's just something you're going to have to learn how to do. Every single one of us has to do that walk of shame. Here we're doing the best we can to just deny line of sight on the enemy, but they end up hard pushing around that corner, and we also recognize that Luna's ulting, so we're just going to go ahead and counter ult. One of the best things you can do as a Mantis player, if you do end up letting Luna through, is counter ult their ultimate. The healing is comparable. I don't actually know who wins. Luna might have slightly more, Mantis might have slightly more. I would hope Mantis has slightly more, considering that Luna can also damage buff her team, but I don't know. Someone else let me know in the comments if you know the exact numbers. I would be very interested to see the amount of healing per minute that each ultimate does. Right, per minute, per second, per tick, whatever it ends up being. I don't know how it's set up. But there we ended up winning the fight. Of course, they do have checkpoints, so we're kind of just in their base right now. So we should honestly back up here a little bit instead of being right on their spawn door. We should at least deny line of sight on the spawn door itself, because that allows them to basically sit in a safe area and deal damage to us, where we cannot deal damage back to them. I think this was a good call to move back just a little bit here to let them push out a tiny bit so we can actually start killing them again. And we have ultimate almost immediately after that last fight. One of the huge strengths of Mantis is how quickly you can farm ultimate with her. And that just comes with it. Not only are you're farming ultimate from your teammates dealing damage whenever they have the buff on them, from you healing your teammates, and from you dealing damage. There's a lot of things you can be doing to build ultimate on this character at any given moment. And that's why I think like she is, I think, fundamentally a very easy character to learn and pick up. But there's just a lot of real-time decision making that you have to get good at to be a good Mantis player, in my opinion. Your real-time decision making is really what's going to set you apart from other Mantis players, because the kit itself is very easy to navigate. I don't think you have to be very mechanically gifted to use her outside of maybe just having good aim. I think you do have to have at least decent aim on her projectiles, but that's about it. That's the only thing you have to aim with her. Is that, and even like her sleep, yeah, you do have to aim that to a degree, but it's a huge AoE. It's very good. Really, with the sleep, I think your best bet is to basically just train yourself, condition yourself to always respond to when you hear the enemy ult, and maybe look at the enemy team lineup, and pick one or two people and just tell yourself, as soon as I hear that audio cue for that ultimate, I'm gonna find them and I'm gonna sleep them. Denying an entire ultimate for an enemy is honestly huge, and it could very well make the difference between winning and losing a game. So the more often you can sleep an enemy before they get their ultimate off, just the more likely that you and your team are going to win the game. Mantis is such a big team player. Unfortunately, our sleep is down there because we could have easily slept that Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a huge candidate for sleeping before his ultimate goes off, because it has a huge wind up and he's very loud when he does it. Those are kind of the two things that I look for when I'm looking for somebody who would be very easy to sleep in their ultimate. The other, Spider-Man can be very easy. Black Panther, Scarlet Witch even are some that come to mind. Penny, you can also, if you sleep her in the middle of the ult, it doesn't cancel it, but if you do it on the wind up, it'll cancel Penny's ultimate. But yeah, that was Mantis. I've been having a lot of fun with her. I will definitely keep doing more VOD reviews like this. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this. If you didn't like it, let me know. Let me know what I could be doing better. Maybe you want me to spend more time. You guys some tips on him. I think he's a really strong character. I didn't put him quite in the S tier in my tier list, which I put out yesterday. Go check that out if you're interested in tier lists. It is just my opinion. Don't if I put one of your characters low, I'm sorry. Let me know about it in the comments. Here we have a ban phase, and we are expecting to play Punisher here, so we want to get rid of Hela. And we saw that Hawkeye wouldn't have been bad either, in my opinion, but Hela really we want to get rid of. And then I vote for Luna Snow here, because she's just usually more difficult to deal with than Mantis. Mantis, it's not obvious when she's ulting to her team, so a lot of them can be outside of the AoE, whereas Luna, a lot of them stay inside the AoE. And unless you get headshots in Punisher's ultimate, you're just not going to kill anything in it. And so we do get a ban on Luna, Hela, and Hawkeye, which is actually really good for us. Hela and Hawkeye can be a huge problem for you. So getting them out of the way can be very beneficial. Two other characters you might want to consider banning are Psylocke and Magneto. Each of them can definitely cause you issues, as you're going to see in this game. This Psylocke does cause me quite a bit of issues. You don't see Magneto in this game, but the reason he can cause issues to Punisher is he just absorbed. You can deal as much damage into his shields as you want. They're going to stay up for the duration. You can't like shoot them out like you can most other shields or Groot's walls. One thing, usually I land on the bridge up there. I missed, but one thing to note on Punisher's zipline is to jump off of it early. I've noticed that it really gives him probably the furthest range on his jump if you're going to jump off the zipline is to jump earlier rather than later, and you can actually get some really good distance on it. It's kind of surprising. I really like to position myself right here at the start of this point, and this allows me to monitor the right side, because most of the time you want to just break that wall over there on the right and push through it. Or TP behind us, which I believe they were looking to do, but something happened and it failed.
Yeah, so sometimes your Doctor Strange control you. Unfortunate for them. But yeah, if they don't TP behind, I really like positioning myself up there. It's very hard to deal with, and once they take out that little tower, because they absolutely can and will, you can push back to that little window or like cubby back there. It makes it very difficult for them to trade damage with you, and you can kind of just chill there and wait for their healers to push up and pick them off. That's a big part of my playstyle. Is I'll either try and take off angles or just sit behind my tanks and shields and try and pick off the healers in the back line. Again, I think that's pretty much what every duelist should really be trying to do. And I'll say that for every duelist VOD review I probably have, is kill the healers. Here, I think they realized that I was on my own, so they did a pretty smart dive and took me out. Thankfully, Rocket Raccoon, who's probably the best hero to ally yourself with. If you're looking for people to team up with, definitely pick Rocket Raccoon. He was able to get us right back into the fight and also damage boost us. We were able to take out Doctor Strange there with our ult, but unfortunately Iron Man did counter ult us and just shot it right into that window, which was a pretty smart ult on his part. Can't even be mad at it. Thankfully we have our zipline set up so we can just yeet ourselves right back into the fight. Again, a huge strength of Punisher is his mobility. Don't sleep on it. He's got a lot in his toolkit, and you can set up zip lines kind of all over the place if you want, and do some really crazy stuff with him sometimes. I don't really showcase that much in this game. I do kind of just stick with my team this game for two reasons. One, I have Groot, and I love playing around a Groot because his intention is to wall them off and isolate them. So he'll give us really easy fights, and stick near my Rocket Raccoon because he's basically going to damage amp us a shitload and keep us healed. Rocket Raccoon is your friend. He basically puts down a totem that'll basically give you infinite ammo, and your fire rate gets insane. And it's already happened a couple of times, but it'll happen a few more times. And you basically just deal crazy amounts of damage, and it might as well be your ult. And then I actually don't know if it affects your ult. All I know, like, it's good enough with. I think you just save your ult, honestly. I think there's one time where I do pop it just to see during this game, but I haven't tested it enough to the point where I know I can confidently say whether it affects your ult or not. And honestly, I think just using your assault, here it is right here. Your assault rifle is enough. Like, yeah, I'm not getting any kills here, but I'm applying so much damage and pressure to them while they're trying to push. It's kind of wild. And then you follow up with an ultimate. Unfortunately for that Iron Man, it looked like he was trying to ult me, counter ult me there. The bridge was able to absorb that ultimate, and I was able to take him out. It was a good idea on his part. Again, just a little faulty on execution. One thing to note on Loki is you can take out those little things that heal, and you honestly should over the dummy. I'm just lazy and never take them out. Don't be me. Be better than me. You can and absolutely should, and hopefully by watching these videos you will be. But yeah, shoot those little orbs that basically create the AoE for Loki's healing, and it'll actually stop them. So if you're struggling with Loki, that is one tip to deal with him. Here again, we're just making our way back to point, making our way downtown, walking slow, because Punisher, his move speed is really slow when you don't have your mobility up. There I probably could have used my smoke screen to get there a little quicker, but in this case I think it was fine, honestly. There are definitely some things I could be doing better this game. One of them is dealing with this Psylocke more intelligently. I should have been using my shotgun when she pushed. My problem with the shotgun and why I wasn't swapping to it immediately is that there is a delay between swapping to him where she can easily just kill you before you even get it out. So that's why I just immediately start trading into her with my machine gun there. But Psylocke is a problem for you. You're a big squishy target, and she has a shotgun. She's gonna headshot you very easily, and I believe her full combo will kill you. Here we're just, again, we're positioning ourselves where we have cover, but we know they're trying to push through that window up there, and unfortunately they do succeed by stacking, I believe that was Doctor Strange and Iron Man ult there, which was a pretty smart play on their part. Thankfully we were able to hold out. Honestly, like they probably could have taken point there, but we hold on for a little bit. And here, this was actually probably a little too aggressive, setting up the turret. I should have set up the turret on the back line and just shot into them instead of trying to take the card itself, because that made myself a primary target. You can die on the back of that turret, by the way. They don't have to. Only the front of it has a shield on it. If they shoot you in the back, they'll kill you. So you always want to try and be facing whoever is actually dealing damage with you, which if you're surrounded is impossible. You just need to get off it and try and get out. Usually at that point, I'll cancel it and fire smoke screen directly at my feet to try and break visibility, and then zip line somewhere, anywhere. You just try and hit anything around you to just get away from them. It can work. Sometimes you'll die. Huge ult here because they unfortunately teleported themselves directly into my line of sight while I was ulting. A core weakness of Punisher's ultimate is he's just so damn slow in it, and he's a huge target. So sometimes you could just get killed in it before you deal any damage. Other times they'll just run away because you can't really chase anybody down with it. If they teleport directly to you, good news for you. As you saw there, you get to actually use your ultimate effectively. We had a pretty good hold there, all things considered. Now we're gonna swap over to attack, and we're gonna immediately see our friend Psylocke again. Yeah, she's a problem. She might just shit on you at any moment, and you're gonna have to accept that. And that's why you're gonna see a little bit later in the VOD, I just start sticking at the back line with my shotgun out, because she is honestly the primary threat on the enemy team that we start needing to worry about, because she does a very good job at picking our healers off. And if we lose Rocket Raccoon, that's a huge deal for us. We really do need him to thrive. And again, like if you're playing Punisher and you're not seeing success with him, and going like, well, I just don't know how you're dealing that much damage with the Punisher. It might be because you don't have Rocket Raccoon on your team. It is like, don't sleep on it. The hero abilities or the hero team ups are huge in this game, and I think you absolutely, especially at the higher ranks, you need to be abusing them. Work with your teammates. It's the best I can say. You're not always going to find people who want to cooperate with you, but if you do, you can find a lot of success. Which, like, I wasn't queued with this Rocket player. He happened to see that I had Punisher selected or highlighted, so he decided to highlight over Rocket Raccoon in the banning phase, and it was a match made in heaven. This is how you make it to GM2. This was the game that ranked me up to GM2, by the way, and I'm gonna keep going till I get to Eternity. I can do it. And I think Punisher's, I know I didn't put him in S tier, but I think Punisher's a great pick to try and rank up to Eternity. I think he can do it at this level. Again, Rocket is so clutch, dude. Just bringing us right back into the fight. We do ult here. We were expecting a little bit of a bigger push here because they did just use 2 ults, which made me think the rest of the team was behind them, but that was not the case, unfortunately for them. It was just them. And so we were able to easily cap that point. And here we're just going to try and push in a little bit. I like taking flanking positions with Punisher. I don't necessarily like getting in the back line ever with Punisher, because you have good mobility, but you can also just get turned on really quickly and die. You're just a big target, unfortunately. I don't know why this guy thought he could just set. I had Rocket Raccoon buff and a clean line of sight on you, and you're standing still. So it's headshot city, and I do think you need to be aiming for headshots with Punisher. If you didn't play Counter-Strike like a filthy goblin in your parents' basement when you were a kid, like I did, maybe pick another character. I really do think if you're not going for headshots on this character, you're just not going to see as much success. as other players do. He is basically the Call of Duty Counter-Strike character. So yeah, again, you're gonna hear a lot of dings in this gameplay because I'm always trying to aim at head level with him and just spraying that. There's no actual like recoil, so you can beam people in the face, especially if they stand still. And that is how you punish her, to a degree. I'll definitely be making a full guide on this. Look for it. It'll be coming out in a couple of days. I feel like I did pretty well, and it was a pretty good showcase of how you should play, especially at a high level with this character. I do feel like Iron Man is a strong character. I know you're not really supposed to play him into hit scan, but I feel like if you have good positioning on him, you can do really well. And another thing is you could just ban some of the characters. Like Hela is pretty much the primary suspect. Hawkeye, Punisher. There's a couple of characters that'll give you a lot of trouble. So there we have Hela and Psylocke ban. They're pretty typical bans. They're both very strong DPS right now. And then we had Hawkeye and we had a double Hawkeye ban. Sometimes that'll happen. It's unfortunate, but yeah. So those are a lot of threats. Not so necessarily the Psylocke, but the Hela and the Hawkeye are two of your major threats. I think your primary counters as Iron Man are going to be primarily Hela, Hawkeye, Punisher, Spider-Man, Star-Lord. He's got a lot of problems, but if you know how to play him and position him properly, you can even deal with those threats. Here you see me using the rockets a little bit, and also we had to race our Black Panther to that health pack, but fortunately we won. Here you see me spamming rockets a little bit, but as you can see, you're just kind of going to get punished for it. I think a much better use of your time is going to be trying to get flank off angles, wait for your overdrive, and then use your laser beam to try and deal a lot of damage in a surprise attack. You'll notice that I do have a Hulk on my team, so I'm dealing extra damage on top of my overdrive, and it's just a lot of damage. There we do get taken out, but we did basically create a lot of space for our team to actually be able to push in and take point. We're going to skip back ahead. Unfortunately, they did get pushed back to the choke. But we did at least give our team the opportunity to be successful there and take point. Here we're pushing a little aggressively there, even though we got so low. We are pushing to the health pack though, thankfully, and what we're trying to do is basically get at that back line. I think your primary objective as Iron Man and most duelists should be to get at that back line. The key to taking out the enemy team is their healers. Kill the healers. I'll just reiterate it. Make it your mantra. That is, if you're a duelist player, that should be your mantra. The key to winning this game is killing their healers over and over and over again, and that should be what you're trying to do as Iron Man. Another thing you'll notice me do is I'm always trying to be behind cover whenever I'm popping my E or my overdrive, and that's because you are essentially helpless during that split second while you're both activating and deactivating it. That's why you always want to be hugging cover with this character. You really want to be hugging cover with every character, but especially flying characters, because there's just so much hit scan. If you do not respect line of sight on his scan characters, you are going to get melted and they will become a problem for you. So just always be hugging cover. You see here, like I'm not even playing up that high. I'm just playing around cover and making it very difficult for anybody to put any sort of meaningful damage on me. And then when the enemy team's focus is elsewhere, I poke into the back line and take out a DPS like you just saw there. I was able to take out both the DPS and just constantly harass, and that was even through a Luna ult, if you noticed, which is a showcase of, again, of just the strength of having a Hulk on your team as an Iron Man player. Do it. Find one. Befriend them. I promise. It's actually one of the 5 tips in the guide I just made on Iron Man. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out after this video or during the video. You know, it's got some good stuff in there that you probably won't hear me say here, and vice versa. I also have other character guides out too. I am a group main currently. I Groot and Mantis I have the most play time on currently. Go check those out, or just give me some channel love, you know, to the subscribe, like, comment, all of that jazz. I really do appreciate it. And back to the gameplay. As you notice, I'm still kind of gravitating around the health packs. This is a character that you really do need to learn every health pack location, and there's a lot, honestly. All the maps are stacked with health packs all over the place. I think it might be even more than in Overwatch, but you're if you don't have a Mantis on your team, which we do here, and Mantis is, the allies you want with you are Hulk, Mantis, and Doctor Strange. Hulk for the obvious, the hero buff. You just get extra damage. Why wouldn't you want that? Mantis, because she can heal you very easily, but she can also damage buff you on top of Hulk's buff. So whenever we're getting a bunch of buffs here on top of our laser beams, so this might be like if you're getting in a match and you're like, I'm not melting people like you did. Why? It might be because you don't have a Hulk and a Mantis damage buffing you. That could be your issue, and I apologize if you don't. The reason I listed Doctor Strange is because his portal and your ultimate can be one of the most devastating combos in the game. You can wipe an entire team out with it. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff, and it just makes it very hard for them to see coming. The biggest weakness of your ultimate is it's just so telegraphed. It's so easy for them to either kill you before it goes off or just avoid it in general. So having a Doctor Strange on your team with the option of just yeeting it through the portal is very nice. There you saw we actually got a trade on the Punisher's ult. He ulted and we just decided, you know what, we're probably going to die for this, but we're going to take him out. And I think that was a fine trade. I think his ultimate, well, I don't know. We both have very useful ultimates. So, you know, maybe that was just ego. I did expect to get more kills there because there was a lot of them, but still just getting just the Punisher there was fine. And as you can see, we're still, even though we're pushed up, we're still hugging cover, we're staying near the health pack, and we're primarily playing around our E cooldown. When we have our E up, we want to be aggressive, we want to poke out from behind cover and try and nuke down a healer, and then when it's down, we're just going to back off and play passively, play inside of our team, keep throwing rockets downrange. Again, like, I don't want to discourage you guys from throwing rockets downrange. I want it to be core focus that your laser beam really is your strongest damage dealing tool, I think, especially when it comes to 1v1 situations. And with your mobility, you should be able to find those 1v1 situations in that back line, engage them, get out, heal, and repeat. That is basically the Iron Man dance, is you're going to find a flank position, wait for your E to come off cooldown, pop your E from behind cover so you don't expose yourself while you can't deal damage. As soon as it's off cooldown, come from out behind cover and try and laser beam one of the healers in the face. Disengage, repeat. That is, in essence, how you play Iron Man. And that's how you'll see me play him here. And I think if you kind of just try that playstyle out, try it for yourself. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but it's been working for me a lot, and I really enjoy it, and that's what I'm going to stick to. I was a Pharah main in Overwatch, and I do really like spamming rockets, but I liked Echo a lot too, and Iron Man really does feel like a combination of Echo and Pharah, so I really do enjoy his kit. Here, we're doing something really stupid and we immediately get punished. I don't really know what my plan was there, other than I wanted to be a good team player and come in and help out. You don't really need to mess with your team most of the time. The only time you really need to play inside your team is when you need healing. That I definitely recommend dropping down, but that should be when there's not a bunch of DPS in your face. If you try and do that when there's DPS around, they're just going to shoot you out of the air. Most of the time, I definitely recommend not doing. Basically, I just went down Main Street there. I went right up to the objective, out in the open, and you will die if you play that way. As you can see, I'm back in this position. Thankfully, we do have enough of them down where I'm not getting punished for it. But yeah, I should be getting punished there. But thankfully, it was cleanup time there, and we were able to get a couple more kills before we have to change over on the rounds. And I think Iron Man is good on both attack and defense, if you're wondering. I think he's a very strong character in either position. I really like him on defense because you can just kind of hide in these cheeky spots, and you get visibility on the enemy team, so you can ping them and call them out for your teammates, and you just become a very difficult person to deal with, and you should usually stay a little bit pushed up. You should be a little bit past the objective. Of course, here they have a Doctor Strange, and they decide to teleport directly behind us, so we had to adjust. And that's another thing you're going to have to learn too, especially at the high ranks. Whenever there's a Doctor Strange on your team, there's no telling where they're going to teleport to. Usually it's high ground somewhere, but it's almost always going to be a difficult spot for you to deal with. Thankfully here, there's actually some good geometry here we could have used to make it very difficult for them to deal with us. Playing on these rooftops, like I said, if you're a flying character, just make it very difficult for the hit scan characters when they do want to focus on you to actually secure that kill. Make it a waste of their time to look at you. That's exactly what we did there to that Punisher. And that's what you should be doing to other, like, Hela players especially. Just deny line of sight on them, if you can't do that, reposition. Here we do take out Luna Snow. We realize that she's ulting, and that is something you should look to do in every single fight. Honestly, like, if you even wanted to hold your ultimate for her ultimate, I could see you doing that as an Iron Man player, because her ultimate is just that strong. Mantis, no exception. Same thing. You can kill her outright in it, and you should. You're one of the few characters that can deal with them in their ultimate, and that's why I think another reason why Iron Man is maybe a little higher. The main reason he's not as high on people's tier lists is because of hit scan characters. And you know, they're right. Hit scan is going to be probably your biggest issue, but on the other hand, like I think the more people understand map knowledge and how to play him, I think the better they'll see that he is, and that he really can hold his own even at higher ranks. Here, we're being patient. We're waiting for the enemy team to make a move. We do catch a glimpse of the healer over here, and we realize that they're trying to push behind and make a cheeky flank. Thankfully, we're able to take out two characters there, which basically stifles that push. They're gonna have to regroup. We can just clean up this Doctor Strange. He doesn't have a team with him, unfortunately. And again, we're not gonna be super aggressive. I could probably push forward and try and maybe get some early picks here, but that's just not me. I do like just sitting and waiting. Force them to have to commit to basically a push option and then punish that push option. Here, I thought I was be able to sneak that ult over the over the rooftop. Clearly, I was not correct, and I immediately get killed. Yeah, even at GM, you're gonna make plenty of mistakes. Trust me. But thankfully, Iron Man is such a mobile character. You can get right back to point. Another strength for him on defense is if you die, it's not nearly as impactful as some of the other characters, which I am showcasing in diamonds right now because I just immediately spawned, zoomed into combat, and took it to the chin again. Which is something you're just gonna have to deal with as Iron Man. I mean, it's gonna be frustrating sometimes. You're gonna play games and you're gonna get killed back to back, and you just need to not let it get to you. Just come right on back in. One thing to note about Magneto's ultimate is you can absolutely still laser beam him in it because it's not a projectile. He won't absorb it like the rest of the projectiles. Thankfully for him, his team was able to heal him through that, but we almost actually got a kill on him before he got his ultimate off there. It's just his healers were just barely able to keep him alive, which is unfortunate for us. Here we do have Mantis damage buff on us, but we're just going to be patient. We're going to wait. We're going to let them push. I don't like being aggressive with this character. I like playing near the health pack and basically figuring out spots on every map where I really like to hold. I think he's very strong in certain spots on each map. It's usually close to a health pack, and that's just because he can get to the health pack so quickly. There, again, those healers just didn't have a whole lot of time to react to the damage we just dealt to them. And they did have some chip damage on them already, which is why we were able to kill them so quickly. But they were just gone in a second. And their team has to regroup now because of it. And here we're coming up to the point just before we give them line of sight on us. We're gonna pop our E, and then we're gonna come out, laser beam of death, laser beam of death. We notice a Mantis in her ultimate. We are not gonna ignore that. We're gonna ult her in the face. That is exactly what you should be doing. Anytime you see a Mantis or a Luna ultimate, you go ahead and trade your ultimate for theirs. Take them out. Their ultimates are that good. They are that impactful. They will win them the game. Here, again, we recognize we're low, and our healers did do a very good job healing us there. But we didn't trust. We did our zigzag, and we got to that health pack. But that health made us healthy enough to come back in and fight again. Here, we're just kind of going for chip damage. We are kind of in the thick of our team here, not really playing off or flank like I was talking about before, which is fine. You can do that sometimes. Here, I'm pretty sure I was good at taking a sip of water. So I did take that opportunity to try and reposition and actually make good on my advice. Be a flanker. Be a flanker. If you're going to play Iron Man, you should flank people. And that's I realized that almost the entire enemy team turned to look at me, so it was not a good idea for me to stick around there and try and laser beam people in the face. Again, the health packs everywhere. There's so many, like, and it'll just come from playing the game, but you can just stay alive for so long. I think this Mantis does eventually kill us, but we just play Ring Around the Rosie with her. And, yeah, I mean, she could have been healing her team. There are definitely better things for her to have been doing there other than chasing us down. But yeah, utilize that mobility. Learn the health pack locations. I very easily could have lived there if I hadn't tried to play Ring Around the Rosie, probably, if I had just tried to move out. I'm shocked that ultimate actually hit you, but yeah, Dr. Strange ult can still very easily hit you even when you're up in the air. That's something you need to look out for. You can, if you react at the moment he starts the sound cue, dodge it with your dash usually, but I just didn't have the presence of mind to do that there. I did have the presence of mind, however, to dodge that Punisher ult, thankfully, before he got it out. I see a juicy opportunity for a point-blank ult, which I take. That can be very risky. If they smelled what I was cooking there, they could have killed me before I got that off, but thankfully it was in the thick of a team fight, and that is something you should try and look for when you want a big ultimate on Iron Man, is look for them to be in the middle of something. If they're all grouped up but they're not really focused on any, they're just kind of positioned and waiting for something to happen, they're all going to look at you as soon as you ult. They're going to kill you. If they're fighting somebody, you might just kill the entire enemy team. Anyways, that was Iron Man. But this was a really good game we had with her, and there's some things I still haven't said about Mantis. Yeah, you're probably going to see a lot of Mantis content from me, to be honest, because I just really like her. If I ever have to play strategist, it's probably going to be her. I will branch out here and there, but she's probably going to be my main healer. I do really like Luna Snow. I like Loki as well. Rocket can be fun. But in this game, we actually wanted to play Punisher, but we end up swapping to Mantis to be a good teammate and make sure we have 2 healers on our team. I think 2 healers is very important. You always need at least 2. You could absolutely run 3 if you want, and it can be very difficult to deal with. Here, my primary bans for Punisher are Hawkeye and Hela, which is why we were really happy to see these bans come out from the enemy team, and we ended up banning Bruce and Luna, which is also fine. The reason you want to ban Hulk, if you're curious, if you think maybe he's not that strong, number one, I think he is a very strong tank, but I think our Storm player is the one who really wanted to ban him because he could grab her out of the air. He's very good at anti-airing heroes that fly, and he also enables Iron Man, which would be a hard character to deal with. He deals so much damage when there's a Hulk in the game, so not only do you remove a really good tank, but you also nerf a really good character, especially with that with Hawkeye and Hela off the table, because they're basically his strongest counters. Alright. Enough about the bans. Let's get into it. So basically, right off the bat, I usually throw 3 damage buffs out, and I try and put it on the duelists, and then maybe a dive tank if I can, or I think in this case I hit Strange with it. And then we're gonna go into healing mode, healing and attack mode. Essentially, every orb you throw reduces the 4 orbs or little leaves that you see on your screen. But you can get them back by headshotting enemies. So essentially, the the key to spamming your abilities on Mantis is landing headshots. Which is probably why I enjoy this character so much. There we had a pretty aggressive push, and I do believe our healer calmed it. I wish they had the actual in-game communications in this. That would be very useful. But we pushed really far there. We kind of want to hold him at this choke, though. That is, we shouldn't have pushed through the building, but we can absolutely hold here, and that's why we kind of fell back a little bit. And basically ask for our teammates to fall back too. As the healers, you can kind of dictate where your team hangs out. If they're smart and they want to live anyway, they will eventually look around and find the healers and congregate to them. And then here we're just holding ult to make sure that nobody gets their ult off on us. We're looking to counter ult at this point because it's, yeah, as you can see, two people on the enemy team do have their ults already. And we know that we have 2 ults. There we give Storm a damage buff just but she did call out that she was going to ult. So we gave her a damage buff and a healing orb before she went in. Tried to heal her up again as she came out. It just wasn't enough to get... I mean, she is basically in the middle of the enemy team, unfortunately. I think she only got 1 kill there, which is unfortunate. I think they were just able to heal through it because the Cloak and Dagger did not ult until just now. And I would have thought maybe a healing ult would have stopped her there, but I think 2 healers can outright heal people if she isn't hitting everybody through Storm's ult. There we're looking to just sedate Thor and let somebody else deal with him, and unfortunately that Wolverine gets a huge ult off on our team, and so we basically ult in response to keep everybody else alive. But if we had anticipated that, we might have been able to ult beforehand. It's very hard to react in time, especially he wasn't on my screen, so I really only had that audio cue to react to there, but I definitely could have ulted as he was doing that to maybe save my team there. A really good pairing with Mantis that you don't see a lot is Storm. Any flying character is... I think Mantis is really good with dive in general. Because you can actually heal people when they're out of line of sight, and that's another thing about her orbs is that even if somebody's topped off, you should still throw your healing orb on them if you think they're about to dive and break line of sight with you. That way, in case they do take damage, they'll still get healed up a little bit. It won't be the initial burst of healing, but they'll still get the healing over time. And there's an initial burst of healing with her heal orb, and then there's a heal over time. When you pop it on yourself, you only get the heal over time, as far as I know. You don't get the initial burst of healing, but then you also get her damage buff. So you'll see me pop it on myself almost constantly. I almost always have it up on myself as well. And then, other than that, it's basically just spamming your thorns into the thick of the enemy. Anytime you get line of sight on people, you should just be throwing thorns downrange at head level, hoping to get headshots, because the more headshots you get, the more healing you get to do on this character. And her sleep is probably my favorite ability, probably one of the funnest abilities in the game to use, because you basically just get to stop an enemy from doing something for a very long time. They do wake up if you shoot them. The enemy team can also shoot that little purple figure that comes out of the person you sedate. If they shoot that, they'll wake them up too, but people will eventually figure that out. But right now, it seems like not a lot of people know that. So you'll get a pretty long sleep on them until one of your enemy, either the enemy or one of your teammates shoot at them. Now, normally you can line up for a headshot. I usually sleep the tanks and just walk away from them. I don't usually try and engage with them. But if you sleep a healer or a DPS, you could absolutely go for a kill on them with a headshot. I usually, just sleeping them immediately and then headshotting them once won't kill them, so I don't recommend doing it that way. But if you get any damage on them, that's when I would recommend trying to go for a sleep. Where if you see one of them low, go for a sleep, shoot them in the head. There, you always want to kill the shark. We not only heard the sound cue for Jeff's ult, but we reacted to when he actually grabbed our teammates. We hunted him down and killed him. Please do that in your matches, kill that damn shark. It will save your team. And like he can be very hard to hit, but if enough of you are looking at him, you'll die, I promise. And then we took a little bit of an aggressive posture because we had our magic player, our DPS were basically going in, so we wanted to make sure we were there to heal him, but we backed off a little bit. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save us from that Wolverine ult. But I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we get rezzed here. But we do, thankfully, with Adam Warlock on the team, we get rezzed here, and we're in a bad spot, and we recognize that, so we're just gonna back off, keep our team healed if we can. Look for any meaningful damage as well, not only to just get our healing back, but to maybe get some early picks. Like, this Thor is pretty out of position now and should die here. Yeah, we do get a pick on him, which is great. That, I think, Thor was pretty aggressive this game, and honestly, like, that may be the reason we won, because he kept putting his team at a deficit. Of course, our type comp is in there too. I think Magic and Venom were doing work this game. 3 kills on that Magic. Hell yeah. You love to see it. And this Thor dive in the back line again, so we punish it. Not a good look. This is a GM lobby. People still make mistakes in GM, I promise. The same deal. Like, I basically try and deny line of sight when I can until they kind of come around a choke or a corner like here. Here, I probably could have started spamming a little sooner there to try and get some healing orbs back. I think a lot of the improvement that I need to do now is just understanding, getting better at my angles and understanding when I can be firing more to get more healing orbs back, to do more healing. This character isn't the strongest healer, but she just brings so much utility to her team that I don't think it matters. And I actually did do the most healing on my team this game, but I also got 42 assists by the end of it. I think in general help my team. The damage buffs alone, because I am constantly damage buffing my team, and that's, you just need to learn how to efficiently use. You never want to be completely out of orbs so that you can constantly heal. I usually do keep 1 up. I see some people like always keep 2 up, which is fine if you want to do that. But I seem to manage with the 1 because in the thick of it, I tend to start getting headshots so I can spam again. And you really do need to register when you get the little dinks. That means you get another one, so you know you can pump it twice really quickly in those moments. Here, a huge mistake I made, and it's kind of because I was just tunneling on my team in the fight, is I didn't realize I'd farmed my ult already. I should have counter-ulted that Psylocke ult. If there's any mistake I made throughout the entirety of this game that I wish I could have corrected, it's probably that one right there. I could have kept 2 teammates alive and maybe kept the cart from pushing up this hill. Thankfully, our Storm does come in and kind of push him off point for a little bit, and we recognize that, so we realize we're actually safe to res there. Immediately pop our ultimate so we can keep our teammates healthy, and then we're just going to look for any picks we can get on low health characters. We're going to ignore the tanks, unfortunately. Because he kills us directly afterwards. But we're gonna look for, when you pop her ult, I think you should dive the back line with her. Pop, damage buff your team and yourself, and go try and kill a healer with her. They're coming back in for another hold. I really like breaking this building on the left side, by the way, on this map, so that you can get a nice high ground spot. You currently see our Magneto and our Storm utilizing it as cover. And we'll walk up there and use it in a little bit. I also, on this map particular, but almost every map, I really like jump pads. As a healer, jump pads can be your friend, especially if melee characters are on the enemy team. It can make it very difficult for them to kill you, but it just makes it in general harder for you to hit. So if you struggle, especially on this map, that jump pad up there on the point. I don't think we ever get to the spot where we need to use it, but I just kind of hang out there and heal my team. It can be a little harder to hit your shots with it, but it makes you harder to kill. And if you're up there fighting, your healing and damage buffs alone are bringing utility to your team and just making yourself hard to kill. Everyone, like, I've had a couple of games where I'll just be bouncing on the jump pad and I'll have like two or three people trying to kill me because I'm just being a nuisance. Here we get a counter ult, but thankfully I think she waited just long enough to actually kill me there, so I ran past it, and unfortunately that Adam Warlock took a couple of thorns to the face, and we took him out. And then poor Iron Man tried to save the day there, but he was too low on health. A one shot takes him out, and that wins the game. And yeah, that is Mantis GM 2. I think I don't know. I really enjoy her. She's my favorite healer to play by far. But yeah, definitely still some things I could be improving on. But what's up, guys? I'm Frosty the Sandwich. Welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Today we're doing a VOD review of a teammate that I had that played Storm and popped off in a GM 2 game. I haven't seen any Storms be super successful like this at a GM level yet. So I'm very interested to see how they play and what they do to succeed. Let's get into it. Also, if you want to see the Mantis point of view, which is the character I was playing as this game, I've got another VOD review up. Go check that out if you want to learn Mantis or are interested in seeing some high-level Mantis gameplay. So, one thing I'd like to know, for the bans on this game, we had Hela and Hawkeye banned on the enemy team, which is really good for Storm, I think, already. It's very good for Punisher, too, who I wanted to play this game. You want to get rid of Hawkeye and Hela, they will absolutely shut you down as a Punisher. Really, all the DPS. The next one would be Psylocke, but I think Hawkeye and Hela are higher priority. I believe this Storm wants to get rid of Bruce Banner because he can actually grab you out of the air, which is really strong. It also empowers Iron Man's overdrive attack, which can be a nuisance to deal with. So not only are you taking out a really good tank, but you're also just nerfing a really good character. All right, we are in wind mode. We popped our E off the start to give our team mobility. You'll notice that we are damage buffed by our Mantis player. Shout out to me. And we're focusing down that turret and playing inside of our team. Ooh, kidnapped by the Wolverine player. Unfortunate, but we do live through it because our team's with us. And then we're looking to get a pick on this Thor player. It looks like it's probably going to happen too. I want to say our lightning... I think her lightning aura was up during that. So despite the fact that Thor has a lot of health, she can really burst down even tanks. If you have your lightning aura up, it's constantly dealing lightning damage to anybody inside, any enemy inside of it. And I think it procs like 4 times at least. It's a lot of damage if somebody stays inside of it. So, and that on top of the rest, you can deal the rest of your kit damage, like you can do the rest of your abilities during that too, so it really does add up, as you can see. And I think that's what we're seeing right here is this player basically knows a choke point that has a lot of high ground that basically you can utilize as a flying character and abuse to make yourself very hard to pin down, and she's just weaving in and out, waiting and playing around her E cooldown. We're going to be in fast mode when our E cooldown's up, essentially, or down. Like, when we don't have our E cooldown, we're going to be in speed mode. We're going to be roaming around, staying elusive. And then when our E cooldown is up, we're basically going to be trying to ambush, come in from behind on the enemy team, get as many people inside our AoE, and pop it. Because it deals so much damage. You can farm ult incredibly fast on this character if you get a lot of really high value thunderstorms, essentially is what I'm gonna call them. And when I say thunderstorm, I mean you have your lightning AoE active and your E is popped or enabled. There we're using our alternate fire to clean up a low health character. That's something I love doing a lot. Your alternate fire is hit scan, and it's very useful for cleaning up low health targets. It's also got a very forgiving AoE around it. Like, it's not pinpoint. There's like basically a circle that you can shoot at, or basically like a circle hitbox that it has, and you can see it when you shoot it. Like, it'll be like a ball of lightning. It isn't like a little pinpoint shot. So you can be to the right or left of people and still hit people with it. It's very good for cleaning up Spider-Man and other flying characters as well. A lot of aggressive dives, but I love seeing it on a Storm player, honestly. And here we don't have our E cooldown, so we're basically just kind of hanging out. As soon as it comes up, lightning storm time, because I think she had 3 people in it there. It's a huge amount of damage. The fact that they're not turning on her and killing her when she does that is criminal. I think part of this does have to do with the enemy team. They just don't have... Namor, honestly, I think... I shouldn't say that. They do have the tools to... No, they have a Punisher. Not Namor, Punisher. Punisher, honestly, should be dealing with her, but... He's just not. He's not able to pin down this Storm and take her out. This Storm player is doing a very good job of denying line of sight in most cases. I do see her play out in the open a couple of times where maybe she could have been a little closer to cover, but other than that, very good map knowledge, and overall the angles are pretty good. Here we're playing inside of our team again, which I think is fine if your healers are good, and I was the healer, so I'm not gonna shit on myself, guys. Here the shark just doing shark things, being elusive. It's very hard to hit the shark. It's hard to hit things with Storm in general. Hitting that shark with Storm is nigh impossible. You can hit him with the space or the alternate fire. Sorry, I rebound my alternate fire to space. Yeah, which you can see. Here, we don't really have to worry about Jeff Holt as Storm. We fly. Hell yeah. And we love to see killing that Jeff player, though. That is something you should be doing every single time you see your team get ulted by Jeff. Kill the shark. You will save your team. You will deny them a healer. Kill him. Send him back to the prehistoric era. I don't know where he's from. Like, land sharks are a real thing. He's from the Mesozoic era, actually. Bro, he's a cartoon. Sorry. We did unfortunately die there. But we come right back in with our speed buff. Very mobile character again. Like, I think she is... Iron Man's more mobile in general because of his dash, but when you're actually boxing people, she's more mobile than Iron Man is. She's harder to hit in general. Iron Man's incredibly easy to hit when he's not dashing. Even if you are doing elevation changes. Here, perfect ult. We took out a healer. We're drawing the attention of 2 of their other players while we're pushing the cart up the hill. I don't care if you died there. You brought utility. You basically helped us push up the hill, and you basically gave our Magic and Venom space to push in and hold them so we could walk that cart up the hill there. I think that was a great use of her ult. Anytime you can pick... That's basically when I ult on Storm, I'm looking to try and dive the backline and kill healers. Sometimes you'll force the healer to counter ult because of it. I mean, you're getting a huge ult out because of it. It does feel shitty as a Storm player because you want those big kills. We all want to see 3 kills at least per ult, if not more. But getting just 1 kill on a healer is definitely worth it, in my opinion. That was a great ult by our Storm. I don't know why it swapped.
3, 2,
I love this angle to start, just really high up in the air. We're around cover if we need to deny line of sight.
and we're just being a nuisance. We are in lightning mode, so we deal extra damage here. We're not really worried about avoiding attacks at this point. And then if we need healing, or if we need to get involved in a team fight, we basically just drop down out of the sky and utilize our E. Which I believe is what she just did. Unfortunately, the enemy team just didn't push into it, so there wasn't a huge effect on her storm there. But I believe that is what the intention was to basically catch the team off guard and get a huge storm on them. There she caught Wolverine in the storm. Any players if you can catch a bunch of the enemy team in that storm, I'm telling you, man, it hurts. It's not easy to pull off. Hit scan will annihilate you, but oh, and we're using mobility again, just making ourselves harder to hit. Playing inside of our team. Ooh. We go down to the Psylocke there. Psylocke did take a really good position up on that building. And she wasn't ready for it. I wouldn't have been ready for it. If you'd have been ready for it, kudos to you. Big ult here, just forcing them off of the cart, making sure that her team basically has time to get back. She does have presence of mind to realize that if she doesn't dip there, she'll probably die immediately, though, after the ult. Thankfully, that gave me time to actually ult on Mantis and push back into the enemy. Yeah, basically, we retake the cart. Basically. Words are hard. Learn from me. This is all just a bit. It's a gambit for me to get better at speaking. And it's going poorly. It's not going well, guys. I'm sorry. No. And I think they only get time for one more big push, but we're taking a really high position here, making it very hard for them to look at our team and us at the same time, essentially splitting their attention, which is really good. I do wish I saw more people in her AoE sometimes when she used it, but still, again, we're utilizing the damage in her AoE whenever anybody pushes into us, like the tank, to just get that damage on them. It's a lot of damage if you can actually get somebody in your AoE. Here's huge damage. Look at that. No surprise that she got top damage here. And that's a big thing I think everyone should start working on. If you're a Storm player, learn the off angles. I think this is a really good map for her because she can basically hide up in these buildings and then just descend on the enemy team and pop her storm. And then if she needs to get out, she can get out really quickly. More open maps, I don't know that you'd be able to get away with this on, but I think a lot of the maps have enclosed areas like this where you can at least find some value with her in some situations. That poor Iron Man. He tried to save the day. But yeah, great, solid Storm gameplay. It inspires me to want to maybe actually try her out, because I've just been hesitant to try her out because I don't want to be the guy that gets flamed by his teammates who are like, swap off Storm, she's not good. She can be good. You just saw a very good showcase of how Storm can succeed at a really high level. If this Storm player is in the comments, great game, by the way. It was a pleasure.
On to Plat 3, this is a game from Plat 2, but as you're about to see, there's multiple GM players. I think 3 on the enemy team and 4 GM players on my team, including myself. We're GM last season, and so we are climbing our way back up the ranks again. And thankfully, Hela is not banned yet. So, and I didn't play Hela a whole lot when I was grinding up the ranks the first time, but honestly, after having her get banned almost every single ranked game once I got into Diamond and above, abuse her. If you're strong on a character like Hela or Hawkeye, just abuse them until you get into the ranks where they get banned. I promise you. And there's the first death you're gonna see. You'll only get to see 2 more of those, so you're welcome. Enjoy. Honestly, on this map, I really prefer just going left there and breaking the wall. I don't like sitting on this sight line, even as a character like Hela, because you'll just get picked like that by random spam too. I don't even know if that Hawkeye necessarily meant to hit me, or if he was just spamming that corner. Could have been either of the two. But here we should be pushing even further left, in my opinion, but we kind of hung up out here to try and get some early picks. We are trying to hit the back line and avoid shooting the tank if possible. And this is, I really like pushing back here. In fact, on this map, try and convince your entire team to just push around to this side, because if you push behind to this building, all of a sudden your team has the high ground and you become very difficult for them to deal with. I don't recommend trying to just force the issue through that choke. But yeah, as you can see, us wrapping around with maybe a few of our other teammates was enough to split their attention and allow the rest of the team to push in. So even if you don't convince your team to push with you, you can still absolutely get value by just coming over here yourself. And we did elect to kill the Hawkeye first in that fight because he's really the only threat on the enemy team to us, and then we killed the healers. You could mix that up. You could probably kill the healers first next time, because if they were good, they could have kept the Hawkeye alive, and we aggroed him by shooting at him. So we could have easily lost the duel there. But if they're low, you might pick off your threat before you go for the healers. It is up to you and up to what's happening in that moment to make that decision. Normally, I would advise you to go for the healers first. But there are some times where it's okay to kill a DPS or a tank first, especially if they're low. Here, we're trying to wrap around and split their attention again, maybe pick off a healer in the back line. We do find a kill on that cloak and dagger, which is really good. And then we kind of just tickle them in the back, make sure they can't just keep focusing on one direction. They have to split their attention and focus on me and deal with me. I think Hela does a really good job, not necessarily playing backline, but doing you play with your team and then just make random flanks to force them to have to shift attention and then go back to your team. That's the style I like to play with her a lot, is I kind of just dive in, or not really dive in, but I'll basically go around to the left or right and try and find an off angle where I can get a pick on maybe 1 or 2 healers. And then I'll go back to the main team and push. Here we got a really good shield usage by our invisible woman, by the way. This game was really good. And I know the shield looks red. Unfortunately, the VOD review for this put me on the enemy team. I did change the highlights so that my teammates are blue and they're red, but if you see an ability that's red, it's actually friendly, and if you see an ability that's blue, it's actually enemy ability. Just so that's clear. Sorry. I wish you were always on the friendly side when you were doing these VOD reviews. That would be very nice, but that is not the case. Here, I like taking this angle, especially with a shield on it, because you can kind of reach back into the enemy's spawn and pick off some healers as they're coming out sometimes. So I'll either hang out right on this left side of the bridge, or I'll go up on top of it. Both are really good spots. The building over there can be destroyed, as you can see, so I don't usually like hanging it out there. Another spot is that jump pad, but you're a little exposed on that jump pad, especially if you're going to try and float. Hela's passive is really nice, but it also makes you incredibly easy to hit in the air, so I don't tend to use it that much. And here we're looking for another flank. I really like flanking on the left side over here. There's a lot of spots where you can poke out and get some cheeky kills. I don't know what, I think the Invisible Woman was maybe just trying to spot us out there, and unfortunately she got caught and killed. Which means they're a healer down and we can kind of go to town here. I really like that cubby hole up there. Of course, this entire section can be destroyed, as you just saw. So you'll just have to understand that you get a couple of shots and then you usually have to move. Otherwise, you can get trapped. And then here, I really like going up on the right side. I don't think I go up there. But where that Hawkeye was is usually where I like to wrap around. There's a spot where you can walk around and not be seen by the enemy team. And you can usually come out and get a pick on a DPS because that's where they like to hang out. And then go for their backline. Here we're doing an aggressive ult inside to basically keep them, clean up the enemy team, and then keep the ones that are trying to poke out and maybe come touch the cart, keep them in their base. Pretty standard Hela stuff, honestly. And that's the thing about Hela, is if you're good at your left click, this character kind of plays herself. I don't really think I do anything special on her other than I've played a lot of shooters and trained my aim a lot. One thing I would note is the reticle that I am using is different. I've been trying I do really like the dot reticle on precision characters, specifically like Hela. I prefer the crosshair on Punisher because he's more of a tracking character. But when you're doing those single click shots, I really do like the dot crosshair. So try it out. But honestly, the best advice I can give you on this character is go into the practice range, go down to the shooting range, and set up some Mantis bots to move around randomly and practice shooting them in the head. That crosshair placement and getting the right sensitivity. I personally set my in-game sensitivity down to a 3 for both horizontal and vertical. And I also use 400 DPI on my mouse. I have a giant mouse pad though. I literally use a Magic the Gathering playmat as my mouse pad. But yeah, those are some tips. You can also play aim labs or Kovacs. I usually play aim labs, but there's no substitute for in-game practice. Honestly, you can get better. Don't get me wrong. Those games are very good at training your aim, but you also need in-game time. And I mean specifically not necessarily even like playing against enemies, but go into the training range and just practice for 30 minutes. I typically at least do 15 minutes every day, every morning before I start playing. I go into the training range and just practice and warm up my aim. And that's another thing you can do is warm up routines, especially on aim-intensive characters like Hela. You should definitely warm your aim up before you just jump right into a game. It'll help a lot. The shark's always hard to hit. Another thing that I guess talking about aim in general is sometimes I've found that it's actually a lot easier to land shots when I just place my crosshair in the enemy path and wait for them to walk into it, as opposed to trying to flick my crosshair into the enemy. I don't necessarily do that so much on Hela, but there's a lot of other characters I like to do that on. And remember how we were on the attack side? I strongly stressed coming around to this back alley as probably the best way to push this point, and that's why we're also going to do the best we can to defend this side so we don't allow them to push over here, because this is basically the key to them getting a point, is having a couple of their DPS get around behind you and up on the high ground behind your team. And then you're basically splitting the attention of your team. Some people are going to have their back to the enemy, and essentially everyone has their back to an enemy in that situation. So it's not good for your team. So you really do. I really like playing up on this rooftop. Also, another thing to note is it's not to our benefit there, but you can absolutely, if you think people are in the building, you can break the ceiling there and shoot them through the building. I really love just taking out the middle section there and shooting into the building if I think people are using it as cover. There's also a health pack down there, and that can make it very quick for you to get to it, especially if somebody's going to beat you to the health pack outside. You can just go for the health pack in the building instead. I think this was a pretty one-sided hold here, and we held it down. And in no small part, it was just understanding, having map knowledge, I guess, here, and understanding where the good flank spots are. In almost every map, there's usually a section you can break as the attacking team to get around and avoid having to push through the same choke. And that's when you're defending, you need to basically try and adapt and cover those angles as best you can as well. You need to still hold the choke, don't get me wrong. If you just give the choke for free, they'll walk up. It's not like they're intelligent human beings. These are very good players. they will walk up if you let them. So you have to basically, I guess the key is to stay spread out. And I think at the higher ranks, you actually do see teams more spread out more frequently than in the lower ranks. You just kind of see these death balls occur where everyone's just kind of jumping around inside of each other and randomly killing each other. There isn't a whole lot of sense to what's happening. Here we are staying spread out, which means that, number one, they can't just fire one area and get a bunch of value. They have to pick their shots. Another thing about it is, like, if any one of us go down, it's not a huge deal. They're having a Rocket Raccoon, super clutch, being able to come back really quickly and keep holding it down. Although I think our team honestly probably had it there. But yeah, that is Hela. I don't typically play her, normally because she's banned, but also because she is kind of just, she just got nerfed, but as you can see, she's still alive and well in the meta. I still think she's going to get top picked, top banned in ranked, and we'll see if I'm sure they'll do mid-season changes as well. I hope they do anyway, because I still do think her and Hawkeye are a menace. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like that, please like, comment, and subscribe. Till next time, stay frosty. The rank's trying to get back up to at least GM, and Invisible Woman is one of the characters I've been doing that with because I think she's really good. I think she not only provides a lot of healing to her team, but also a lot of damage, and I enjoy playing her. I think she's going to be my new addition to my healer pool, so it'll be Mantis and Invisible Woman whenever I need to play strategist, depending on how I'm feeling at the current time. I'll still definitely be playing a lot of Mantis, but I just really like the way she can kind of manipulate the enemy team. I really like that she can constantly be harassing and pulling the enemy team like towards your team and making them come out of position. Her E has a pretty short cooldown, so you can kind of just spam it and keep pulling them towards you. I also really like her shift for area denial, and one tip right off the bat with her shift that I think everyone should learn is to not put it on the ground or close to the ground. You really do want to kind of throw it maybe just a little bit above the ground, like even right there. If I'd thrown it maybe just waist height, the bubble is kind of massive, and if you throw it on the ground, you kind of like take away like half of the effective range of the sphere. So throw it like up above the ground a little bit, so you get the full effective range of the sphere, and you can basically do that by just hitting shift at whenever you want it to actually basically come out into the actual AoE that does damage. When you throw the orb, just hit shift again, and it'll basically expand into the orb. And a combo I really like to do with her is basically throw that orb out, maybe directly in front of me so that I'm inside it, and pull them into me, and then maybe try and get them with the melees. I don't tend to go for melee stuff, especially in ranked. I tend to try and keep my distance, and that's another thing with this character is she has the ability to do something that no one else can do, and that's basically literally just chill right next to the enemy team and heal herself. Don't forget the fact that whenever you're invisible, you're also healing yourself. So you do have some really good self-heal whenever you need. You can just basically use your double jump to activate that invisibility. And I've had situations where I've been like right next to the enemy team, they wipe my team, and I'm just chilling there invisible healing and waiting for my team to come back to point, and they had no idea. There's no duration on her invisibility. You really can just stay invisible for as long as you want on her. Which I think is really, really cool. And despite the fact that, our team was kind of getting smacked around for this first point, I think we died one time here at the end. Right there. That was it. And right now it's sort of just a DPS difference by the looks of it. Their Hela was just outclassing our Hela. But that does turn around here. Another thing I really like about this character is just her ability to pump out healing and damage at the same time. I really do try and stick to my tanks and try and basically attack the enemy through my tank, or like position myself so that I'm always shooting through the tank but hitting the enemy, which is not the easiest thing to do, and I fail at it a lot. But I think if you practice this character, definitely practice doing that. We tried to get a quick ult there to take space, and unfortunately Bucky just kind of yeeted his arm right into our face. Unfortunate. Sometimes Bucky can do that. In fact, even if you're a healer and you see Bucky ulting, I think there's a strong argument for stop healing immediately and just kill Bucky. Whatever you do, like your entire team needs to just kill Bucky. His ult really is that strong. In fact, I think he is kind of just an ult bot in my opinion. Like he's got some decent CC in his kit, but ultimately it comes down to his ultimate usage, pun intended. Yeah, here we're back, same spot. I do like pushing down from the high ground on this map. Problem is you can usually come in on the backside and cap this point, because everybody just spends all their time. Everybody wants the high ground up here to try and attack the point from. So if you just go straight to point, sometimes it can be the better decision here, which is what the enemy team did, and why they got the first capture. I honestly like playing low ground on this map, like behind that pillar on the right side where the med pack is. It's very good cover from the upper spot, and you can honestly just play low ground and let them have the high ground cap point and just kind of heal around cover and not in deny line of sight. You don't really have to engage with them. Another thing to note about the shield is you can, and I do tend to do this a lot, is I'll spawn it on somebody, but then I'll walk up next to it because it'll heal yourself too. And so you can use it as basically cover, it'll heal yourself. It's really good. Definitely try and move it around a lot to avoid them breaking it, because the longer it's out, the more healing you get out of it. And it doesn't matter what health it's at. I believe it still gives off the same amount of healing until it's down. But you can kind of just spam it and move it around. You can also call it back with F, which will regenerate its health, but it'll actually put it on a cooldown. So be careful when you recall it, because if you need it in that moment, it's better to just move it to another teammate. Sometimes I'll even try and move it to a teammate that's kind of in the back line to just keep it safe until I want to move it to another frontline teammate, so I don't have to put it on cooldown. We actually hit our melee ability on that Groot there, by the way, to push him away after he ulted us, but it didn't matter. We still died. Groot ult will absolutely wreck you as a support, and most, I think, high-level Groot players are going to try and ult the support because they know you can just delete. Groot has a lot of damage really quickly, and he can delete you. So you just gotta be ready for that. I don't know. There's not really much you can do there because it is a root. So you're just kind of stuck there and have to tank the damage that he does to your face. The best you can try and do is melee. She does have a ability. The third hit on her melee knocks away, and that's what I did there. Is I knocked him away from me to try and at least save myself or make it a little harder for him to hit me, so he can just basically wail on me, because most Groots are going to try and melee you because he also has a 3-hit melee combo. But yeah, not enough. Died to Groot combo. Groots are deadly, especially as a support. Just be wary of them. Here we're just going to basically ult to try and at least hold the space, because it looked like we were going to lose that fight. And we desperately do need to get back in and touch point. And thankfully it was enough for us to push back into the room and recapture the point, because we would have just lost the game there if we hadn't done that. So yeah, and then we're going to push up and make sure we block off these 2 entrance points, because at this point they're basically going to look to do the same thing. If they don't come in and touch the point, they're going to risk prolonging the game and possibly losing it. We recognize that the Psylocke, basically, the entire team wants to be aggressive, but we expect a bunch of ults to come out, so we did position correctly there, thankfully, and just hang back a little bit. Again, Groot comes in, ult in the back line, trying to be the hero, but it's just not enough. Yeah, that's why, I mean, I was serious. Those Groot players, the high elo ones, if you're a support main, look out. Groot has your number. He's coming for you. Be ready for it. His wombo combo will kill you, kill the walls, or just get away from the walls as quickly as possible. That's my best advice for surviving against him. Another thing to note about the shield, I think I did mention this before, is you can kind of just spam it on people, which is kind of cool, and just keep repositioning it. That's why I kind of like moving it around between teammates often. But it's such a cool ability and so versatile. And I don't know if we've had I think we do get a storm at some point in this game. And another thing, I really like it with Storm. Both as a Storm player, and it's just kind of nice to be able to have that up there and get some free healing. You don't really have to babysit Storm, a good Storm player, because they know that if they just hang around the shield, they'll get free healing until it breaks. So you just throw the shield up wherever they like to play, and you also hear a very distinct crack when it does break. So you usually know when it's back on cooldown. But yeah, if you just hang out around that shield, you get free healing. It's a very cool ability that I think is pretty unique. I don't think there's anything like that in Overwatch. In fact, I think this character in general has some really unique stuff going about her. I mean, AoEs are pretty generic. Push-pull ability, I guess, is pretty generic. But all of it together is really cool. Really cool ultimate. And just like the passive being indefinite. It's not like Psylocke or Loki. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't actually know how Loki works. Loki mains in the comments, let me know. Can Loki stay invisible indefinitely? Because that's pretty cool. It does seem I haven't played a whole lot of Loki, but it is very nice to be able to just be safe whenever you really need to. Even if you're you could just be standing in the middle of the enemy team. If they aren't shooting, they're not going to see you. And you're healing the entire time while you're invisible, so it's just really strong, in my opinion. I think this character is definitely going to be seen at higher ranks. I don't know that she's pick ban worthy, but I think she's going to be a strong pick. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her in competitive tournaments and stuff. Because I think not only does she have the healing output to, I think, be competitive with Luna and Mantis. Because, I mean, let's be honest, those are the ones you got to compete with right now. Luna, Mantis, and Cloak and Dagger, too. I shouldn't count them out. I don't know why I always forget to mention Cloak and Dagger, but they're just as good, if not better, in my opinion. In fact, I kind of been sleeping on Cloak and Dagger. I tried her for the first time maybe like a day or two ago, and I immediately loved her kit. Or their kit, I guess, sorry. I'd mainly say her because she's like the main healer, I guess, that you're supposed to play. Cloak seems pretty ridiculous, though. He is very strong. But I think alternating between them, like you go to him to cast debuff and reposition, and then you go back to her to do insane healing. Her healing output, I think, is probably the highest. It's like every ability does healing. If your team knows how to play with her, she does insane healing, I think. Probably the highest healing output in the game. Easy. But I think Invisible Woman is still on par with at least Mantis for sure. I think she could definitely out-heal Mantis. I don't know how she would stack up against Luna Snow. I don't know the pure numbers, or like the heal per second, I guess is what I would call it, on the characters. But she's got really good healing in her kit because her projectiles basically go out and come back. So you get 2 procs of healing. And the damage is kind of lacking on them, but her damage on her abilities more than makes up for that. The AoE plus the 2 alone can kind of just destroy people if you place those properly. You don't even really need to land autos to get kills with this character. And one thing I do like to do, and I'm sure you've seen it more than a few times, is throw that orb right on a corner that enemies like to peek around, and you just get free ult charge for them hanging around that, and they basically either have to move away or tank the damage, and it's a lot of damage.
I honestly think you should just keep your shift ability on cooldown and just keep using it to harass, and keep the enemy like again, I know I've said it a lot, but yeah, her damage output potential I think is very high. I think like combined, you need to be dealing a lot of damage and doing a lot of healing on this character to really get value, because I think pure healers are still going to out heal you, unfortunately, but I think you are sort of like fitting into a Mantis role where you're sort of like an off healer, but you can also bring a lot of utility and damage to the team and just in general displace the enemy team. But yeah, that was MVP game I had on Invisible Woman. Really love her kit. Let me know how you guys feel about her in the comments. Do you like her? I think I'm... What's up, guys? I'm Frosty the Sandwich. Welcome back to Marvel Rivals. I am currently Diamond 2, and I've been playing a lot of Storm in order to grind up in the ranks. I really like the buffs that she got this season. I think they were much needed, and I think she's in a much stronger place. We unfortunately had one plat player in this lobby, as you can see there, so we did not get to ban things like Hela or Hawkeye, but we're going to play Storm anyway. I still think Storm's a good pick even with those characters on the enemy team right now, and I commonly see her as the top damage in ranked lobbies. Of course, at the start, we're going to TP with Strange. I think it's pretty standard at this point to have a Strange TP either here or even up on that ledge adjacent to us. Both are very good spots to try and teleport to and get the drop on the enemy team. We are going to stay in this building and make sure that we aren't exposing ourselves to too many of the enemy team at any one time. We are still squishy. We don't want to get focus fired because we'll go down pretty quickly. And then we're just staying mobile, moving up and down, as you can see. Unfortunately, there is a Psylocke being annoying downstairs, which kind of distracted us. We didn't realize that our team kind of left the upstairs area, so when we came back up, we immediately got destroyed because, as you can see, you are still a fragile character. Despite the fact that you get more armor in her ultimate now, you can't tank the entire enemy team, so you really do want to be playing inside of your team, or you can play split with this character too, and I do tend to do that from time to time, and there you just want to be playing off angles that are hard for the enemy to deal with, and split the attention between you and the rest of the team so that they have to look in two different directions. Storm can excel at doing that as well. Another thing that I haven't talked about yet is the projectile speed. She got an increase in projectile speed, so not only can you hit targets more reliably, you can actually engage at a distance now with her, which is kind of the issue before, is you really couldn't reliably hit anything that was far away from you outside of using your alternate fire. Another thing to note is we are playing with a Thor, and so we do have access to her C ability, which is incredibly strong. If you want to play her in ranked, I strongly recommend having somebody play Thor, because you will deal a lot of damage. The C does chain to, I don't know why, sorry, quick tangent. I really wish that her C ability was her space ability. That's just my personal opinion. And then when Thor was on the table, you would get access to what her current space does. I think that would be a pretty good change, but honestly at this point I don't think she needs any changes. I think she might end up getting nerfed because she really is dealing a lot of damage. Something I really haven't talked about yet is her ultimate. It's so good. It deals a lot of damage. It gives her a lot of shield now, and despite the fact that we didn't really get a bunch of kills there or pop off, we forced the enemy Luna to use her ultimate, and it's just really good at either baiting out enemy support ultimates, or if they're down, you can basically get a team wipe. It's one or the other. So I think and you can farm for her ultimate really reliably now. I think she gets her ultimate quicker than most of the other characters. This might not be true. This might just be
a feeling I have, but I feel like I'm getting her ultimate a lot quicker than I am on the other DPS characters I play, and I think that's a lot because of that. Like the piercing damage is a lot more reliable now, but I think just getting really high value storms on people, or like when you have your lightning AoE or stance active, popping your E ability, catching a lot of people in that will farm your ultimate so fast. It's very hard to to kind of just chill in people's face and use that ability, because they tend to, good players anyway, tend to all look at you when you're doing that. But if you find key moments where everybody there's so much chaos that they don't have time to really focus on you, that's when you really want to try and zoom in and use your E ability in lightning mode. There again, we immediately got the Luna's ultimate. It's either we get a huge wipe on your backline, or you have to use a defensive. Oh, and I guess it does feel bad as a Storm player getting counter ulted by the support. But it's just, you're just gonna have to accept it. Just tell yourself in your mind that you're bringing value. Every time you force that support to have to counter ult you, you basically frees the rest of your team up to use their ults and basically win the next fight. And that's basically what happens here. Is that Doctor Strange can now freely ult. Luna can't do anything about it. And we just walk in and take point. Really easy push there. Not to be an ass about it, I guess, but it was a fairly easy push. We have a lot of time left, and so now we're just looking to defend and stall for as long as possible. I really like defending up here because it makes you not the focus of attention normally, but normally at least one or two of the enemy team are going to try and come this direction, so you can really engage in advantageous fights for Storm. I think are the 1v1 and 2v1s. I think she can excel in 2v1 situations, especially if they're close range. Her AoE damage with her E ability and her lightning stance, again, it's incredibly strong, and it pops on everyone. I think I don't know if it's every second or every 2 seconds, but it procs a lot, and it'll straight up just kill people that are inside it that you're not even paying attention to. It's that good. And so if you catch a bunch of people, I think a lot of getting value on Storm, I think maximizing value on Storm anyway, is finding those moments where you can get a huge lightning storm on people, and then that'll basically farm your ult really quickly, and then getting a huge ult. I really like having a Strange on the team. Magneto is also amazing. I think Magneto is better than Strange in my opinion, because the bubble is so useful on Storm. If he gives you, especially like if you ult, because at higher elos, I've noticed that people will start focusing you. Despite the fact that you get armor, they can still absolutely kill you while you're ulting if they focus you. So having that bubble on your ultimate is huge. Of course, it wouldn't have been huge value here because the Luna is basically counter-ulting our ult. But still, having Magneto and Storm is very good. Even outside of that, just having the bubble on her when she's fighting. Having a bubble when you come in with a lightning storm, even when you don't have ultimate, is huge on Storm. So I think Magneto paired with her is very strong. But Doctor Strange is as well. Just hide behind that shield. And you'll stay in the sightline of your healers usually, and you'll still be covered by that massive shield. And that you typically need to stay low to the ground for, but I mean that. So what? Like I know she's a flying character. That doesn't mean you always have to be up in the air. You can basically alternate between the two. Pick your moments. Here you're gonna see me down low to the ground a lot, and it's fine. It works out just fine in a lot of the cases. And we are sort of playing in the back of our team. I do think we expose ourselves out in this main area a little too much at times, but we gotta ego check that others enemy Storm and with the 1v1. You can't let you know, other Storm mains in the comments know that enemy Storm had to die. Okay, that's all you need to know. Yeah, another really good pairing is Invisible Woman with Storm. I really like her shield, and note that if you hang around the Invisible Woman shield, you will get healing. So every time you see that come up around you as a Storm player, that is your friend. Hug it until it breaks, because it will keep you alive and allow you to just keep dishing out damage and block damage. In fact, you can kind of like basically go in and out in between it and kind of body block some of the shots to keep it alive a little longer, to keep getting the healing from it, because it'll heal you as long as it's alive. It doesn't matter what health it's at. So you can sometimes prolong its health and just prolong the enemy team having to deal with you, because usually when you have that shield on you, you are splitting. You're splitting the enemy team focus. So the longer you do that, usually the more impactful you are. Another thing you can do with Storm's ult is delay, which is what I just did there. I knew I wasn't really going to get any kills, but they were so close to getting to that point, and I knew my team, my Doctor Strange calmed that he had portal, so basically all I did was just basically hold that point and ulted directly on top of it until the rest of my team could portal back in and hold it. And they did end up capping this in the end, but we had a really good hold here and very easily could have just ended the game here. So yeah, it's just one thing, you know, you farm your ult so quickly on this character that you really can use it for stuff like that. And don't feel bad about it. Luckily we were able to get out of that Psylocke ultimate there. That could have been really bad for us. I don't think she was paying attention to us, thankfully, because we would have been so dead if she was. One thing I still haven't mentioned about Storm is her projectiles actually deal a lot of damage to the environment too, so she's very good at breaking things and changing. Just find the geometry on the map that you really like to play around. Here I really like this bridge, but I really like to break the bridge so that it's a little more open, and then you can use it really effectively as Storm and any flying character, really. Oh, that raccoon was trying to use it effectively, as you could see there. Poor guy got caught out and dead. But yeah, the geometry right here is very useful for flying characters, and abuse it. Here we're going for an aggressive ult. We see that our Cloak and Dagger ult's on the ground, so we know we're kind of free to do this. And even if we don't kill them, we're going to at least force out a bunch of ultimates and abilities. And that's exactly what happens. And then our Strange comes right in after that and gets a huge ult. And that's, I mean, again, in high elos, I don't think you're going to get huge kills out of Storm's ult unless the enemy support, unless you get an early pick on the enemy support like Luna or Mantis. Luna, Mantis, Cloak and Dagger, and now Invisible Woman. So there's 4 supports that can counter ult you effectively now. I guess Loki can with his abilities, or he could just become one of those other characters. I guess Shark Boy kind of can, because I guess he could swallow his team. I don't know if Shark Boy, Jeff really counts, but you just have a lot of supports that basically counter your ultimate. So you really do need to just be the person that gets those ultimates out from the enemy team and then allows your team to come in. You can try and bait those out, but I think she farms ultimate so quickly that I think you'll end up losing a lot of damage in her kit if you end up trying to wait for those perfect moments after the support is ulted. You could do it. Like I don't want to say like that's not a bad way to play. It's just a different way to play that I would recommend, honestly, just trying to use it aggressively and keep it on cooldown, because you farm it really quickly right now, and I think it's a lot better to just keep sending that damage downrange, force them to have to deal with it, because it really is a devastating ultimate if they let it go through and deal damage to anybody. You basically need to put the ball in the enemy court. They were a little aggressive, but I think we just barely managed to push them off of the cart, and we managed to win the game. And that is how you play Storm in Season 1. High elo. Again, I don't know if you saw at the beginning, but everybody in this match actually had the GM crest. So everybody in this match was a GM last season. Very high elo games right now, even in Diamond and Plat. You're gonna have a lot of people because they're trying to grind back up. So if you're struggling right now, I would honestly recommend maybe waiting a couple of days before you start grinding ranked, because right now you're gonna play against players that are meant to be in higher ranks that just haven't grinded back up yet. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this content, please let me know. If you didn't like this, let me know. Let me know what I could be doing better. I really do enjoy this, and I'm definitely going to keep doing it. And other than that, until next time, stay frosty.